I vividly remember one summer day back in the early 70s when I was a camper at UAHC Camp Swig in Northern California. At rest hour, my counselor told us that there would be a special program that afternoon. Cesar Chavez, the head of the Farm Workers Union, would be speaking, and I said, "That's so cool. I had no idea that Cesar Chavez was Jewish." My counselor responded, "Jacobs, you're an idiot. Cesar Chavez isn't Jewish, but he has something very Jewish to teach us." Chavez told us heartbreaking stories about the harsh conditions that most farm workers endured for pathetic wages. He asked us to support the boycott of non-union lettuce and grapes as a way to stand up for justice. One of the rabbis at camp told us that food harvested by workers who labored under cruel conditions was considered treif, not kosher. For the first time, the concept of kashrut seemed profoundly relevant to me. My friends and I were so taken by Chavez's speech, we marched ourselves into the camp kitchen and demanded to see the union emblems on the produce. Otherwise, we were going to strike. Luckily, there wasn't a single non-union grape to be found. From a 20th century young man named Jacobs, just finishing and beginning the path they would follow in life, we open our scroll to the ancient journey of a biblical Jacob. In fits and starts, this awkward, ethically immature young man comes of age in our Genesis narrative. Vayishlach is the last of 3 Torah portions where Jacob and Esau grow from children to teens to young adults to parents with children of their own. The boys are typecast from the start. Esau, ish yodea tzayid, ish sadeh. Esau was a skillful hunter, a rugged outdoorsman, while Jacob is the ish tam yoshev ohalim. Jacob was a quiet, introspective soul, preferring the indoors. Their family story often reads like a case study in how not to raise healthy, thoughtful, and resilient children, complete with over-involved parents secretly maneuvering a stolen blessing and a furious brother. Before things turn deadly, Jacob flees to evade Esau's justified wrath. Far from home, Jacob is about to experience life in ways that will transform him. He will be changed by the events in the parashah the same way many of us were shaped by transformative moments in our youth. Transformation is what Jewish life is all about: personal, communal, and global. Our Jewish tradition inspires us to work on all 3 levels because our ultimate goal is to help people live better lives. Transformative experiences can't be scripted for us any more than they were for Jacob. But there are environments that often catalyze new insights, deeper connections, and clarity of purpose. Immersive Jewish experiences are among the most potent sources of transformation. For youth, we have for generations provided impactful experiences like our nifty retreats and fellowships, our Israel trips, and mitzvah corps. Jewish summer camp is, of course, also one of the most powerful. Our network of overnight camps serves thousands of Reformed Jewish youth with the summer of their lives. In a recent independent study of the alumni of our 16 URJ overnight camps, NIFTY, and youth programs, we found that 4 out of 5 are now connected to a congregation. They connect not because someone told them to do so, but more powerfully because they experienced a Jewish community of such depth and purpose in their youth that they became convinced it must be a part of their life's journey. Today, we're already hosting year-round engagement for our teens. NIFTY offers a host of immersive retreats and fellowships, and the Rax Litaken weekends in D.C. combine spiritual practice, tech study, and activist training. Many teen and family immersives are also offered by our congregations, and our inspiring camps have grown their mission to include Jewish experiences for families with young children and young adults all year long. All of these programs connect us to communities of joy, depth, and purpose. On Thursday night, I spoke about the need to expand and strengthen our tent with a greater number of people. This morning, I want to speak about our divine call to enrich sacred experiences for those within our tent, to deepen the ways we live our Jewish commitments so that we can transform ourselves and our world. Let me share an example. 2 years ago, 16-year-old Lucy Beckett spent her summer in Seattle with our URJ Mitzvah Corps. The impact of this immersive program led her the following summer to spur her congregation, B'nai Israel in Sacramento, California, to start Camp Nefesh, a Jewish teen-led day camp for refugee children. Lucy is a change maker, someone who will deepen the lives of many people, Jewish and not, for years to come. I can't wait to see what she and her peers will accomplish next. But to do that, we need to follow Lucy and her generation to campus so that they can continue to take the lead. Let's change our language. Our Reformed teens and young adults are not just tomorrow's leaders. In so many ways, they are already leading us. In the past, we too often lost connection with Reformed teens when they graduated from high school. No longer. It's our job to help students create Reformed spaces on campus that reflect our diverse, progressive, and evolving practice of Judaism. Led by Evan Traylor, whom you heard from powerfully last night, and our 12 incredible students on the URJ College leadership team, we are training students to create meaningful Jewish life and community on campus. They lead innovative Reform services and create inspiring communities through Jewish holiday celebrations and intimate Shabbat dinners. They are forging new connections with other communities on campus to fight, to prevent gun violence, and get more college students voting. And we're doing all of this in deep partnership with Reform rabbis and professionals at Hillels throughout North America. Together we can do so much more, and we will. Our young people proudly and confidently carry their commitments to justice wherever they go, including Israel. Why should we expect anything less? They do not want to be told there is only one way to love Israel. For them and for most of us, a Jewish and democratic Israel is about a country imbued with core Jewish values like tzedek, justice, shivyon, equality, chesed, kindness. They're tired of being disparaged for their Jewish commitment to stand up for the rights and dignity of Palestinians. They do so not in place of fighting for the safety and well-being of our Israeli Jewish siblings, but rather an additional sacred commitment, one that is absolutely vital to Israel's morality as well as its security. Let's face it, pro-Israel advocacy will only be effective on college campuses if the many Jews who are critical of Israel's governmental policy are included. It's important to also recognize in the daily fight against BDS, which seeks to delegitimize Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state, the most effective pro-Israel voices are often our progressive students who passionately support two states for two peoples. Our students have the most credibility with the widest number of students and faculty on campus. They understand that it's incumbent to see all facets to our relationship with Israel and to not walk away from engagement simply because we don't like some of what we hear or see. We welcome good faith efforts that seek to protect our students from anti-Semitism on campus. The executive order signed by the president this week addresses important aspects of this crisis. And our movement will continue to monitor closely the executive order's implementation to ensure that it is not used to curtail free speech. But make no mistake, to truly keep American Jewry, including our students, safe, elected officials must not use Jews as political fodder. The use of anti-Semitic tropes, including that of dual loyalty, endangers us all, and it must end. And when college students return home to their congregations, they also need to feel safe from the plague of white nationalism that is intent on murdering our people in prayer. And our elected officials must never give sanction to such elements in our nation. Period. End of sentence. We want our students to have their own relationship to and firsthand knowledge of Israel. Immersive experiences provide that. Living and studying in Israel led me to fall in love with the country, the people, the culture, and the aspirations of our still young Jewish homeland. And today, when our young people spend significant time there or get to know the Israeli shlichim at camp and at nifty events or in our congregations here, they too fall in love with Israel. Our young people should visit Israel, and when they get there, they should be greeted by a society that respects their Jewish observance. You can make that and more a reality by voting in next year's World Zionist Congress election. Our growing reform movement in Israel is making that a reality by showing the world what an inclusive, relevant, progressive Judaism looks like in the Jewish state. With joyful music and new liturgy, an expanding network of congregations, and a deep commitment to social justice, the Israel movement for reform and progressive Judaism is inspiring the next generation of Israeli Jews. Their progress shows our North American movement that the values we hold dear are indeed shared in Israel. As the crux of our parashah teaches, wrestling with our siblings who are different from us can actually transform us. In fact, sometimes from a distance, you can't tell if two people are embattled or embracing. In Vayishlach, the frightened Jacob wrestles with an unidentified adversary through the night. Some suggest it was an angel, others his twin's guardian angel, or maybe even his brother himself, whom he doesn't recognize after 20 years apart. Still others suggest he wrestled with his own conscience. The youthful Jacob, who until then had cheated and tricked his way through life, emerges from the long night of struggle a changed person. the assailant announces that his name shall no longer be Jacob, but Yisrael, for you have striven with beings divine and human and have prevailed. Jacob limps away from his encounter with a new understanding that he will be connected to countless generations of Am Yisrael, the people of Israel. One people who will share his name and destiny. Yes, the Jewish people of ours is remarkably diverse. You notice that already? Yeah, but we are still one. Being one people doesn't mean that we all share identical beliefs, practices, or politics, nor does it mean that we will allow other Jews to define us. We will never hesitate to update and adapt Judaism because we fear our more traditional siblings will object. It can't be challenging, but it sometimes is, to live in relationship with all of our diverse people, from the ultra-Orthodox and ultra-nationalists to the not yet connected. But when Orthodox Jews in Brooklyn or Jersey City are attacked for simply looking Jewish, we are wounded as well. And we must stand shoulder to shoulder with our siblings. The fact that too many traditional Jews don't include us in their understanding of Am Yisrael is lamentable, but it won't keep us from including them in our circle of concern and responsibility. Our young adults excel at advocating for themselves and others. They're an incredible group, the most diverse, inclusive, connected, educated, and idealistic generation ever. Add to all this the fact that many movements for social change in history were founded and led by young adults. Think of Soviet Jewry, civil rights, today's climate change campaign, and Hong Kong protests, all steered by smart, passionate young minds. A little while back, past NIFTY president and current leader of the World Union for Progressive Judaism and Artsenu, Andrew Keen, led a delegation of young adult Reform Zionists to the Jewish Agency board meeting in Israel, one of the last ones presided over by Natan Sharansky. The night before the meeting, the young leaders joined representatives of the worldwide Reform movement at a protest in South Tel Aviv in support of asylum seekers, African asylum seekers, who are at risk of deportation. The next day at one of our sessions, Natan told us that the Jewish Agency was considering a resolution critical of the government's actions and in support of the asylum seekers. The debate from among world Jewish leaders from across the political and ritual spectrum proceeded, and just as the vote was about to be taken, two of our young adult leaders raised their hands. One, Rachel Wolf of Congregation Beth Am in Los Altos Hills, California, cited the text from Exodus 23:9, "You shall not oppress the stranger, for you know the feelings of the stranger, having yourselves been strangers in the land of Egypt." She spoke with passion and intelligence, and the resolution passed. I'm pretty sure, no, I'm actually positive the vote would not have passed had she not spoken from the heart of our tradition and our history. Both Rachel and Andrew are in their 20s, and we're so lucky to have them deeply involved in our movement as they continue to raise their voices, including at the upcoming World Zionist Congress. Earlier this year, the URJ commissioned Dr. Tobin Belzer, a social scientist who has been doing the most important research on Jewish millennials, to conduct an in-depth study of program offerings for people in their 20s and 30s at our Reform congregations. It turns out our movement may already be engaging more young adults than any other organization in Jewish life. But we also need to acknowledge that those currently connected are still too small a subset of those we need in our tent. Until now, our congregation's young adult programs have operated in silos, separate from one another and unable to collaborate in meaningful ways. This year, that has changed. I'm proud to announce Rabbi Adam Grossman, a proven social entrepreneur, is our new URJ Director of Emerging Networks and is already working to connect and expand programming for young adults, both in person and online. Just before Jacob's life-transforming encounter with the mysterious night assailant, the Torah states, Jacob was left alone. Vayivater Yaakov levado. Jacob, our biblical millennial, father of young children, is overcome by loneliness. Our young people understand how powerful that feeling can be and wrestle with it every single day. Last summer, a YouGov survey found that 30% of young adults always or often feel lonely. We know that what is happening on our phones, tablets, and computers drives this number even higher. And we also know that our efforts to touch people virtually can spur meaningful connection in the craziness of the online world. When I travel, I hear many people my age ask, why don't our young people join synagogues? Or why don't they give to federations? Or why don't they stand up for Israel? Or why don't they go to Hillel? In short, they're asking, why can't they be more like us? I think these questions are counterproductive. First, the job of the next generation is not to be just like us. When I got home from Camp Swig, filled with farm workers' kashrut, Debbie Friedman-inspired prayer, and countercultural Torah spurring me to demonstrate against the war in Vietnam, my parents surely complained, why can't he be Jewish just like us? Second, this generation is not like previous ones, as many social scientists have noted. They are not just the first generation of digital natives. They are distinct in many other meaningful ways. We in Jewish leadership would be wise to stop struggling to fit them into old constructs within our Jewish community and instead embrace their desire to be active and involve co-creators of a Judaism that is relevant to them. In our reading of the parashah, Esau is often misunderstood and overlooked. It is time to rewrite him into our narrative of Jewish history. He is cast as the villain when in fact he sets the example of someone who transforms into a thoughtful and very forgiving person. Instead of exacting revenge, Esau runs to embrace Jacob, falling on his neck, kissing him, and weeping. Vayipol al tzvarav vayishkakehu vayivku. Some Jewish commentators, they can't accept that Esau's transformation into a kindly and caring person, so they interpret the kiss is really a bite. But Rashi cites Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who says that Esau was transformed and kissed Jacob with his whole heart. Given Esau's love of nature and the outdoors, he could surely lead our efforts to build environmental responsibility into Jewish observance. Mention climate change or fossil fuel or composting to young Jews, and you will hear how seriously and urgently they see their obligation to change our practices and policies as stewards of creation. That is a major part of our responsibility to heal the world. That is also tikkun olam. Perhaps that work will open yet another doorway for young adults who, like Esau, drifted from or were never connected to Jewish life. If we step back and make space for Jewish youth and young adults to experiment and make decisions for themselves, they will help us shape and reshape and deepen Jewish life. They will change themselves, they will change us, and like Jacob and Esau, they will change the world. Our youth make us think. They push us to be more open. It is our job to help them find their voice and hear them when they do. They are forcing us to wrestle with new ideas, and I think that's healthy. It will help us grow and evolve and deepen our own connection to Judaism. In last week's parashah, Jacob had a vision of a ladder by which angels of God travel from earth to heaven. Like a ladder, our movement must be accessible from the bottom rung. We need to make it easier for people to take their first step into meaningful Jewish life. And we need to have many rungs, many points of engagement as they deepen their Jewish commitment. Rather than follow the biblical examples of Isaac and Rebekah, who doubled down on dictating to their children how to live their Judaism, let us give our young people wings so they can flourish and find their way into a new and exciting Jewish future. Remember, transformation springs from the heart of Judaism. There's a poem often attributed to Rabbi Salanter, the 19th century founder of the Musar movement, which puts spiritual growth at the center of Jewish life. Teaches a profound lesson on transformation. When I was young, I wanted to change the world. I found it was difficult to change the world, so I tried to change my nation. When I found I couldn't change the nation, I began to focus on my town. I couldn't change my town, and as an older person, I tried to change my family. Now that I'm old, I realize the only thing I can change is myself. And suddenly I realized that if long ago I had changed myself, I could have made an impact on my family. My family and I could have made an impact on our town. Their impact could have changed the nation, and it could indeed have changed the world. This teaching reflects how hard it is to transform the world, self, and community without effective tools. It also underscores the power of intergenerational Judaism. There's a part of this work in which young people excel, and other parts in which those of us who are less young must still lead. But if we join our generations together, we can transform ourselves, our communities, and yes, one day, our world. Our beloved Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg said it best when she implored us to fight for things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. Vayishlach means to send. Our ancestors were sent to live lives of blessing. On the journey ahead, we would be wise to remember the story of the Jew who looked up at the heavens and said, "Dear God, there is so much pain and anguish in your world. Why don't you send help?" And God answered her, "I did send help. I sent you."